Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of probably about 6 to 8,000 emergency podcasts in the Bond community world, because we're here today celebrating the news. It'll be probably yesterday by the time you see this, but the news that we finally have a director. Yes, Bond 26 has a director announced, and it is Denis Newtown. That's what we have determined to call him, because Denis Villeneuve is too hard to pronounce. But it is Denis Villeneuve, right? So we're here to talk about that today. We've got Sean, we've got Kev, the winner of the Denis Villeneuve lookalike competition, and we've got Michael as well. So let's start. Maybe Michael, what are your thoughts?
Very odd. Do you know what? I woke up this morning. I was at an Iron Maiden concert last night.
Oh, you went to that? Very good.
Yes. Nice. So we got in. I got home at around 1:30, and I reckon I got to bed around 2:30. And I take it that not long after that, they probably dropped the news. I was thinking it's probably around about 3:00 our time in the morning. And I woke up and I just saw the group chat popping off. And I saw Paul's text and I just saw Denis Villeneuve. And I was like, oh, right. So just go onto Google, type in Denis Villeneuve. And I was like, okay, the BBC article comes up, read through the whole lot. And now I've been trying to spend the entire day processing it. So luckily I'm off work for that. But in general, it's, I think, about as good a hire as they could get. The way I've been thinking about it is that this is Amazon basically putting down the gauntlet for, we aren't messing about. We are going to get the best of the best to make the best film possible. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to be a case of, okay, let's kind of we'll see, maybe we get an up and coming director, maybe kind of faff about with it for a bit, find our feet. No, we are getting the best of the best. These movies are now going to be, not that they weren't already, but I think they want them to be seen as potential Oscar contenders. You look at the Dune movies that he directed, his last two Dune movies, which for some reason he didn't get nominated for Best Director for, which is still, anytime those two movies came out, that was probably the biggest glaring omission from the Oscar snubs, was he didn't get nominated for Best Director. So if he's making Oscar award nomination Dune movies, like, what's to say we can't get Oscar quality Bond content, you know?
There's a reaction waiting to happen in that one, Michael. Oscar, I know we've had Oscars in the past, but I know there's been criticism as well in the past about they're chasing Oscars, they're chasing things, and are we losing a bit of the soul of Bond in order to chase the Oscar? So I'm fascinated to know how that will be and how the Academy will look at it. I think we see it come out, but it's a fascinating point you're making, just in terms of that they're going for I would have just assumed they're going for bums on seats and make it
100%,
the biggest success it can be.
But I also think the choice of Denis Villeneuve is, more importantly than just maybe get the Oscar, is we want to make the best film possible, so we're hiring the best person possible. That isn't probably named Christopher Nolan because he's too busy. But if you're looking probably top 3 directors in the world, Chris Nolan's probably 1, Denis Villeneuve's probably 2. So yeah, can't really go wrong with him.
What do you think of give me like 2 or 3 of his films that you've seen that you liked. What did you like about them that you think is indicative of what he might bring to Bond?
So you have the one he kind of broke out with was Prisoners. That's an excellent movie, which I think a lot of people forget. That was kind of his coming out party. What really brought him to the dance, though, was Arrival, which big Oscar darling again. Amy Adams gives an incredible performance. He also did Blade Runner 2049, which oddly enough wasn't very commercially successful, though was critically acclaimed. And then he got the Dune movies, which our lovely friend Andy mightn't be a big fan of. which I think is kind of interesting. But he also did Sicario, which I think might be his closest piece of work to a potential Bond. It's kind of it's a drug cartel movie. It has Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro in it. So he does have the pedigree for maybe that type of maybe more gritty action movie, which I think the road they'll probably end up going down. But it is also a bit of a stray away from his playground of kind of science fiction, which is what he's most known for. So yeah, I think if you're looking at his filmography as kind of like clues to see what it's like, he definitely makes really great character driven, really interesting stories. And like his track record on movies in general is all of them are excellent. There's no patch of there's no blank patch, you know. Every one of them is very high quality.
Your analysis is consistent with a lot of the comments I'm seeing, that people like what he does with drama. They like what he does with character. And he can really build tension. I mean, God, if you've seen Sicario, you feel the tension in that, right? Also, Blade Runner, you know, there's some really good tension in that. To play devil's advocate for a moment, there is the flip side that some of the stuff, and you've seen some of the comments were like, okay, so going to be long, moody film with desert shots, and that's what we can expect from Bond. So, I mean, there is. I've heard the term prestige cinema used for Denis Villeneuve, which is the kind of, you know, the showcasing what you can do rather than deliberately trying to be commercial, but really showcasing, you know, the technology, the craftsmanship, the artistry. But that has kind of, you know, yielded a few, great, but yawn, you know, because a few people have said, like Blade Runner, including myself, I really wanted to love Blade Runner, but I can't remember a lot of it. Like it did struggle on a bit, you know, despite great actors, great characters. It looked stunning. The big I know Hans Zimmer gets slagged for some of his sort of foghorn noises that he makes, but some of the stuff he did on Blade Runner was so great, you know. But I'm personally not too worried about that, because I think Amy Pascal knows what a Bond film is, for instance. I don't think she's gonna, you know, she's gonna say, you know, the pace needs to quicken here. It's not, you know, you're not going to be allowed to run at that kind of movie.
I'm curious your guys' opinion, because I'm coming at this from a cinephile aspect as well as a Bond fan. Because I would consider myself
what are we, chopped turnip?
but I'm thinking maybe from what you brought up is like, what do you guys think of maybe just your average lad out there who goes to the cinema only maybe a few times a year, but he loves these Bond movies, or they love their Bond movies, and now this big director's coming along, going to make it this maybe big prestige movie when they just want kind of, you know, what they're used to. How do you think that changes it, Sean? Like, how do you think?
I'm going to be honest with you. The only film I've seen of his is Sicario. I have not seen any of the Dunes. I've never seen Blade Runner. I haven't seen any of it, but I'm still excited. And the main reason why I'm excited for Denis Villeneuve to come on board is purely he's a massive Bond fan. So he's already said it. I think, Paul, you put out a wee interview earlier on that he's growing out. Like it's the statement that said from Amazon. He's been a Bond fan all his life. He's grew up watching with his dad, Connery. He wants to keep this film within the tradition. I think it's brilliant that we have a Bond fan as the new director of our new film to bring another reboot to the franchise. That's the biggest bit that I'm excited about. Obviously, just listening to Michael Luther saying, like, his films have a lot of critical acclaim. And if Sicario is anything to go by, I think we're onto a good thing here. And Paul, you're right. The team has been built around, he's come in now, but there's a team around him. I don't think I'm really excited. Really excited to get a bit of Bond news. We have now a director for a film. I'm already trying to map out when's it's going to come out. Could be 2027, maybe more 2028. But the wheels are in motion, lads. We are getting a Bond film in the next while.
Well, I think you're sorry, Kevin. Just to touch on what you said, that clip there, I think that you're referring to was from Happy, Sad, Confused, where he mentioned nothing he said in that was anything except inspiring. You know, he was just like,
Yeah. Oh,
he
brilliant.
loves
Yeah,
the franchise. He loves the way it's going. He would take it somewhere which was respectful and yet, you know, build it going forward. He also said he considered Daniel Craig great. He said he was the
yeah.
ultimate James Bond.
Yeah, actually missed.
But, you know,
I must
I
have backed out a wee bit there.
So look, it's all good. The only thing is, it does sort of maybe hint at an answer to the question, you know, are we going to see a swing towards a more light Bond, having come at the end of No Time to Die? You know, sometimes
Yeah.
the series does oscillate that way, but it doesn't look like maybe they're going to go that way, unless maybe they hire a writer who can bring a little bit of lightness of touch to it, which, you know, maybe he could do with, you know. But he has also worked with a lot of Bond alumni, so, you know, who knows?
Yep.
I was on a thing earlier, and I kind of came to the conclusion, perhaps, that swing is a great word, Paul. I don't think it's going to be that swing that maybe some fans were hoping for, but it'll probably be evolutionary at the same time. It'll be enough to be different, but yet familiar, which is how we've always managed to kind of keep this going. I was at an event, a work thing there the other night, and of course they're looking at me, oh, sure, he's the James Bond guy and all that. And we're having a great chat. What came out of that conversation was, and I'm going to take that group as Joe Public. God, Daniel Craig is a fantastic Bond. He's just brilliant. He's just so different to the rest. He's brilliant. He's done so much for it. Second of all, Rami Malek was a fantastic baddie in No Time to Die. That was a great film.
Wow.
And these are now independent people just talking about it and what you like, and some, I've never seen a Bond film, or it is, and who's your Connery? And I think it kind of made me think a little bit more about how us fans, fanatics, are here, and we're like, well, it needs to be a little bit more lighter. It's been very moody. It's been very melodramatic. It needs to bring to it. But Joe Public, who is vital for the success of any series of this, quite likes the stuff that a lot of the fans aren't too keen on.
Yeah.
And I think when we get into Denis Villeneuve and what he's going to bring, and we hear about, oh, it's going to be very similar, it's going to be more of the same, it's going to be art housey, it's going to be Oscar chase, it's going to be sprawling cinematic views. Maybe, but actually it's a very different film to what he's done before as well. It isn't the dudes, you know, Sicario, like we say, is close enough to it. Arrival, you know, they're all fantastic spectacle movies that you do. A lot of people remember Arrival, its time and what it was. So I think he's talking about being a big fan. He's very familiar with it. He talks about the 60s. He talks about Connery. He talks about growing up watching it. There you go. There's Michael holding up his Arrival book there if you're watching. And, you know, I think we have to wait and see. He could have picked this and pitched this as well to be different to what he's done before. Safe pair of hands, knows what he's doing. Very good, very accomplished director in this front. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to push Bond into the 20s, into the 30s, and this is what it's going to mean.
I don't know about you guys, but I think Kevin to replace Joe Duffy on Liveline is. I'm petitioning that right now. Everyone get out their emails. We're going doing it. But no, you're absolutely right. I think getting the
when people see him on YouTube, though, they're going to be like, "Why is Denis Villeneuve on Joe Duffy?"
I'm going to have to grow a beard, aren't I? So
you forget the beard,
So far today, now I'm going to put it up later. So I'm either Denis Villeneuve or Joe Duffy. Lads, good luck and have a great rest of the call. I'll see you later.
Do you think they got him on board, or did he come to them with an idea of how I want to do a James Bond film? Or did they approach him, we want you to direct our film?
Well, I suspect that both Villeneuve and Nolan might have been in the sort of on the radar before, but both of them are so kind of I don't know, they both kind of very much control the universes that they create. And I suspect that the Eon controlled Bond films might have been a little allergic to that. They might not have wanted a director with so much maybe elbowing the parameters of what Eon thought Bond was. But I think maybe Amy Pascal is a little bit more open to that, and the fact that, you know, and this has been noted somewhere else by other people as well, that like we know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes to build out a Bond Bond for the Future, studios, creative teams, and so forth. And people are talking about, this a Bond universe, like potentially like who knows, maybe a trilogy like he's done with Dune, So he fits that kind of bill, someone who could, not just be a one and done, but help to start a real foundation for a universe or a world going forward. So in that sense, if you're willing to be a little bit more liberal with the boundaries of what Bond was, he probably fits the bill. And maybe Nolan does too, if in the future he might be available. But so I suspect, and given the interest that he had previously alluded to, there's probably a mutual, hey, let's have lunch, let's talk.
Let's have a chat.
So I don't know who approached whom, but it seems more probably symbiotic. Can I come up with a less pretentious phrase to use?
I was going to come in there with sorry, Kev, but I've kind of only thought of this right now. This might be maybe the first. I suppose Sam Mendes probably when he got Skyfall job as well, but this is the first time it almost feels like, or maybe it doesn't feel like, and maybe I'm just thinking about it too much. But Denis Villeneuve is one of those directors where it's almost his name is the star, right? So we're getting a Bond film by Denis Villeneuve, but is it a Denis Villeneuve film first? Because he's such a big director and he's such a big name. It's almost like, it's not like Bond is the big attraction, because there will be people who will go out there who have no interest in James Bond. They're like, oh, those James Bond movies, don't care. But Denis Villeneuve, I'll go out and watch one of his movies.
Exactly.
So are we getting to a stage where with this movie, it almost becomes a Denis Villeneuve movie, which is just coincidentally, it's a James Bond movie? How would your average Joe...
I think that's been proven out already by some of the commentary coming back.
Yeah. How are Bond fans...
Sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go on.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
It was only to support what you were saying, because we've seen some feedback already saying, there was one comment I saw said, I have no interest in James Bond, but I do now, and that was from a Villeneuve fan, right? So maybe they're hoping to blend, the two worlds. Who knows?
Especially then, what you were saying earlier on, Paul, the shackles may be off from the Eon type control. So they may be saying, there you go, run with it. What you were saying earlier on, Michael, about the Oscar, like whenever you were talking about that, I was just thinking, well, Sam Mendes was there and they didn't get that, but it was maybe a different type of film. But Sam Mendes was the big director coming in, obviously Daniel Craig's friend, but that was a big name to take on the director's role. Yes, but I don't know. Danny, look, he has his own fan base. Look, we could get a whole fan base from the Dune following that will come on board. So here, I think it's win-win. I honestly think it's win-win.
Yeah. It's. I mean, the feedback so far has been incredibly positive. So
very positive.
That's good.
It's the speed as well, Paul. I think that we're to talk about in terms of. It's about 3 months now since the MGM deal properly closed, and I think Heyman and Pascal were announced. And in 3 months, we have a director. Now, we go back to what we were saying. Was he asked? Did he pitch? Probably a bit of both. Did it happen beforehand? Probably. I've no doubt, and we hear the stories when you watch the old Eon documentaries and stuff, how, we met him, or they came in, or we liked him, or we spoke to him later, or they came back for a different film, or this idea. I think there's probably elements of that came into it, and availability. And he's got Dune now to come through, come out next year, and then we're good for 27 perhaps. One. But in terms of the other point, then, in terms of, is it a Denis Villeneuve film or a Bond film? I think it can be both.
Yeah.
I think we'll focus on this now for the next few days. I mean, wait till you get the announcement of the lead. And
I think it's going to be a squarely a Bond film, because again, I'm convinced that if you pay $8 billion for something, you're not going to go, I think we should just change this. Let's change the format.
Evolutionary.
Yeah. I like AJ's thing. You're not going to paint a Coke can blue. You're going to
Yeah.
keep it red. And
But
I think
also, go on.
no, that's all right. Go ahead. I was just going to ramble off.
No, I was going to say, on the one hand, I think that is true, but on the other hand, I think, like I said, with them getting Denis Villeneuve, who is, one of the big names in directing, especially one of the top 3 in the world, I don't think he's just going to come on and bow to the whims of Amazon. I think he's coming on and his fingerprints are going to be all over it. If you looked up, along with the announcement, he got his longtime assistant. I can't remember her name, but she's coming on as an executive producer. So I imagine this is like Team Villeneuve rolling in, and I can't imagine he's coming in and saying like, look, yeah, I'll make your movie. We'll have a good time making it. This is going to be, I think, kind of his take. And I think he's going to have a lot to say in it. Now, I think Amazon will have a bit of bite back, but I think more than most directors, he's going to have a lot of say in what happens. That's my thinking.
Yeah. I saw a great interview with Seth Rogen. I think I might have passed it on to you guys. He's talking about the studio, and the whole concept of the studio is, when producers get caught in a position where they want to make something artistic, but they have to make something commercial, and how do they make the decisions and back and forth between that. And he was speaking about it, and he said, the first time I met Amy Pascal, he said, this woman knew more about movies than anyone I'd ever met, but I see her struggling with making those kinds of decisions. And I thought that was very interesting, and I liked what he said about her. Like, she was a very big film fan first and foremost. And now she's kind of in the driving seat. She and Heyman together, another guy who knows film and loves film. So if they, I feel, work with someone who is as creatively charged as Villeneuve. But and by the way, I've seen so many people struggling and trying really hard to pronounce Denis Villeneuve. Let's just call him Dennis Newtown and be done with it, right? So make it easy for English speaking, right? But I think together, if they can work together, and if she can just steer him within the parameters, it's got to be commercial, it's got to be a little lighter than some of the stuff that you've done before. But if you use that creativity and that characterization drama, I mean, that is potentially a really, really exciting Bond film that we could look forward to. I want to say 2027. I was optimistic for the end of 2026, but I think with Dune 3, he may not be able to accomplish that. Yeah. But I think it'll be a quick 18 months before we're in the theaters again for a new Bond film, and I can't wait.
Oh, this is
and that's exciting coming from a diehard Craig fan to be looking forward to the next Bond. I mean, it's exciting.
But as well as that, like, I agree with everything you said, Paul. But this man is a Bond fan. He loves the character. He loves the franchise. So he's going to come to it from a fan's point of view. Yes, it has to be commercial. And he will bring it. Michael, you're right. He will bring his own touch. His fingerprints will be all over this. But it will be a James Bond film from somebody who cares for the character, wants to take it in whatever direction. Look, he's a massive fan of what Daniel Craig's done. This is going to be like a new iteration of the character. Here, I think he'll be brilliant to do that. I'm really excited that he's on board, I have to say.
Imagine someone telling Ian Fleming a Frenchman's going to direct a Bond movie. That'd be great.
Hi, Monsieur Aubergine will direct Bond 26.
But another really good line that was released when he was kind of commenting on it was he used the word sacred.
He did.
Yes. Which I think is like, because I think of Bond as almost sacred, The average person doesn't, but we do. Us guys here, we think of Bond as sacred. So I wonder how much of kind of the old tradition of Bond he's going to bring back. Like, is it maybe going to be, even though maybe a continuation of the kind of grittier maybe themes, is maybe like a bit more Casino Royale than Moonraker? But do you think he looks back on some of the old movies and goes, do you know what? There's elements in those movies that I really love. I'd love to see him back. Yeah. Ultimately, it's a penny for his thoughts, but we don't know exactly what he wants.
I think he says it. He says it in this press statement. I intend to honor the tradition. I intend to honor the tradition, but open the path for many new missions to come.
Which is brilliant.
That says a lot. I think in the sacred territory as well. Just I think we'll honor the heritage, because I think at this stage we're talking heritage when it comes to this movie franchise. But we still want to get new people, new fans, new blood kind of coming into it, discovering it and finding the series themselves, and like how we all came into it over the years at different parts. So I would be optimistic that it's not going to be a moody Bond with dyed hair coming out of college and all of that. Famous last words. Don't hit me with that. But
smoking cigarettes in a cafe in France, reading existentialist novels.
Looking at things. But I do think we'll see something familiar, slightly different. It's got to be. It can't be too much that, like I said, the audience has got to walk away going, "What the heck was that?" They have to come at it big time. It has to be familiar. And you think of what they did with Casino Royale. When that pivot happened, it was different, but yet it was still familiar, and the audience was in on it. So I think it's good. Sounds good.
Well, I'm not a fan of not that I don't like them, but I just haven't read the Dune books. But I had a sneaky look at David Zaritsky's reaction video where he said that apparently Villeneuve's interpretation of the Dune movie had really gone back to the books and really gone to the source material. So we could be looking at a Timothy Dalton style renaissance of the Fleming approach. There is a Dune.
With all the books today.
This guy's got all the credentials. So yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing except the slightly long, kind of style that he likes to get into. Apart from that, and I think we shouldn't judge him too harshly because it's a different film. It's a different style, and it's something that he says he's familiar with and he loves. I think this can only be good, right?
One thing you can guarantee is that it's going to look phenomenal. It's going to be one of the best looking Bond movies, and that's the high bar because the last few Bond movies have all looked brilliant. That's one thing the Bond movies over, especially like since Skyfall. They've really gone in on. They've got Deakins as cinematographer. Spectre had Hoyt van Hoytema. I can't remember who did No Time to Die. If anyone knows off the top of their head.
Thank you for pronouncing that because I was just running that over in my head, going, Hoyt. How do you say Hoyt?
Hoyt van Hoytema or something like that.
All been excellent.
Yeah, and like they're all Oscar-winning cinematographers. So I think, if anything, the movie's going to look phenomenal. We might get another Hans Zimmer soundtrack, which I would be very excited for.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd be all for that, I have to say.
And look, at the end of the day, if the producer of Paddington and the guy who directed Sicario can't make a good movie, then why are we here?
Once the world comes, then you might as well just ask AI to do it after that.
Yes, you may as well.
No. Me and Sean will get a camcorder out. Camcorder, children, look at Google it up there. Camcorder. We'll get a camcorder out and we'll do a very blurry sort of own interpretation where Sean will dress in a tuxedo and do some cartwheels around streets there.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, but here just a quick point, and it's something, Kevin, you said at the very start of when Amazon were announced, they can't have this fail.
No.
So everybody, game face on, they've got the best man that they can probably is available at the minute. They need to make this work. They will work together to make this work. They have to.
And just so it's not just us four here, but that we put up a poll as well on our Instagram stories, and we had an overwhelmingly positive response to the news today. So, yay. But put a pin in this. Let's see how we feel 24 months from now when we're coming out of the cinema or whenever it is,
Well, here very quickly, let's talk timelines here. When are we expecting more announcements, as in script, actor, starting the film?
It's unusual not to have a writer in place beforehand, right? I think we normally Purvis and Wade are in place normally, and then there's a director, and then writers come on subsequently, but we don't have any writers so far.
I thought I saw somewhere that they were looking to hire the director first. and that they would do the film around the director, which is why I'm thinking what I said earlier is like this is going to be a very Denis Villeneuve film, because normally it's always they write the film, get the director. This is Denis Villeneuve will have a lot of say in how this film's written, I'd say.
And do you know if he has like a team of guys that he usually goes to, like the way Mendes had John Logan or whomever?
That I do not know. Give me a second. Who did Dune?
I'm sure somebody will let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Always wanted to say that.
Screaming at us right now. If you're listening on your podcast, just shout a bit louder so we can hear you there.
Call yourself cinephiles.
Looking into Dune and Dune Part 2, at least, he had screenplay credits on at least Dune Part 1 with 2 other writers. And he had screenwriting credits on Dune Part 2 with another guy, John Spates or something like that.
Okay.
But I have a feeling he's going to be given a writing credit. Just my thinking. If he's hired on to direct now and there's no script written, he's probably going to get him in
here first, kids,
partner or whatever, you know. But I think the timeline thing I think is really fascinating because he's supposed to be shooting Dune Part 3 in September. You're looking at probably about 5 to 6 months of shooting that, and then you have post-production. That movie's hoping to come out at the end of 2026. That might get pushed back to start of 27. I'm thinking, at a conservative estimate, I'm thinking either winter of 27 or spring of 28 is when we're getting the next Bond.
That's quite conservative. I'm going to be a bit more aggressive in my estimation. I'm going to go early 2027. Now that is aggressive, but I think the wheels are potentially significantly in motion where we could do that, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2027 myself. Yeah, just to give them that time, get all the June stuff out of the way, and like he'll be in now working for the next number of months. Obviously, have to get other June and all sorted, but the team will be all built around it by then. So, and I'm sure
if you rewind and look at Casino Royale, wasn't Campbell announced around this time in 2005, or maybe even earlier, and then Craig in October, and then filming was started early next year. Now that probably won't happen given his commitment to Dune 3.
Yeah,
or will it? I don't know how this is going to pan out. No.
But it's exciting. Late 27, I think. I'd like to go April, but I think realistically late 27 with a major ramp up of hype to come that year. And I think that would be. I can deal with that. I'm happy to take the hype train between now and then.
Can I throw in a late curveball, right?
At least we won't know at least we know we won't be in retirement by the time it comes out. So that's all.
No. I throw in a late curveball there, right?
Do.
Because he'll have another movie released before the next Bond movie, Dune Part 3. He's adapting Dune Messiah, which is one of the most notoriously weird books ever. Hypothetically, I'm not saying it will. What if it comes out and it's not critically well received? How do you think people start reacting then? If he kind of butchers the third one.
Does it matter?
It's a one-off, yeah.
Does it matter? Because he's going to come in with this movie anyway, and it has to be a success. I keep maintaining it has to be. So you can have a little blip and come straight into going, all's forgiven. Look what he's just done there. Maybe two disasters in a row might be a little bit more career limiting. But it's hypothetical, I know, and I know we love a bit of speculation, but I don't think it would matter. Your kind of third film in some franchises anyway kind of often can be a little bit maybe I like the first one or I like the second one, and it could be brilliant. But I don't think it'll matter.
Also, Dune Messiah is one of the most. It's such a weird book. Like how he's going to make that, and how he wrote the screenplay, him and your man. I'd pay to see it because it's just I don't know how they're going to do it. It's so weird.
As long as they don't come out with a film called Bond Messiah, I will be very pleased.
Bond Messiah, brilliant.
Someone register that domain name.
Not brilliant. Flush that down the toilet. We don't want that.
Register
Well,
Hi,
Bond.
lads.
here, 2027
I'm
will
gonna
be
have
the
to drop off, boys.
65th anniversary. So it will
That's
be.
cool.
Oh yeah. I
Will?
don't know. Are they hung up on the number like that?
Well, just to make something of it. Like,
Yeah.
Probably not.
From a marketing standpoint, it'd probably be good. But I mean,
Oh, you look at Skyfall in the
2007 would have been
50th
the ultimate
anniversary.
year.
yeah.
You look at Skyfall in the
Yeah.
50th. That was,
Yeah.
I don't know, interesting
Yeah.
to say.
Okay, so those are our thoughts, but we have one missing member here. Andy could not make it today, but he's left us his thoughts via the medium of WhatsApp. Roll it there, Michael. Let's hear what Andy has to say.
Hi, I'm nicely optimistic about the appointment of Villeneuve. I'm pinning my hopes on something as good as Sicario or Prisoners. I didn't really like Dune, epic as it was. He does like a collab with Hans Zimmer, so I'm hoping for another great soundtrack. He says he'll honour the traditions of Bond. Well, fingers crossed, hopefully that's the case. I'm hopefully that the accuracy of the reporting of his appointment doesn't support the accuracy of Aaron Pierre for Bond that's been floating around recently.
We'll see.
Guys, I need to jump. I'm
Okay,
so
have a
sorry. But this is great. We'll catch up soon. Thanks all for this emergency podcast. Like and subscribe if you're watching, and we'll see you soon. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.